Each year, Microsoft Research hosts hundreds of influential speakers from around the world, including leading scientists, renowned experts in technology, book authors, and leading academics, and makes videos of these lectures freely available.
I'm Daniel Pargman. I'm from Royal Institute of Technology in Stockholm. And against the backdrop of ubiquitous and pervasive computing, I will talk about pervasive games, which for here and now I will actually limit it. You could discuss what it actually means and what is part of this or not, but I will talk about location-based games that use a set of technologies and devices, some sort of positioning technology, some sort of communication technology, some sort of handheld smart device, a cell phone or a handheld game console or something else. And so these games that I'm talking about are games that you play on the move and that you move to play, basically using the city as your game board. There aren't really that many of these games, and especially not commercial games, but I'll talk about one of them. And the underlying driving forces we just heard in the previous talk also is, well, the ubiquity of handheld devices in developed countries, and also the spread of cell phones to people who usually don't have the latest technology. But I just came back from China, and I heard that there are now 400 million cell phones in China. So that, together with 3G networks, will change a lot of things, and ample opportunities to think about how the border between private and public will change when people play these games, as it has changed when we get cell phones in public and so on. Lots of different sorts of social behavior that change. And the game I'm going to talk about, Howard Rheingold has written some about that in his Smart Mobs book. It's called Botfighters, and the basic idea is you control a robot, a bot. As you move around the city, your bot moves around, and you can scan the environment and move in on someone and try to make a kill. And it's a slightly claustrophobic game because you play for 24 hours and you can't turn it off. And I'm going to tell you about the game by telling you a story in 3 acts, and that one of our informants told us. It's the story of Shooting Silver. So this guy, he told us that I'd just been playing the game for a few weeks, and I was down in Stockholm working. I'm not that familiar with the city. I worked late, but after I left my job, I threw a scan, and I saw that this other player, Silver, who's a big fish, I understood that, he was just a couple of thousands of meters away. So I tried to move in his direction, and when I was close enough, I sent all my missiles and all my artillery at him, which wasn't that much at the time, but I stayed until I got a confirmation that I'd killed him. So that's the first act. Then I got into my car and drove away, but to my surprise, I noticed that I was receiving incoming missiles, incoming shots, and I could see the range and the direction, and I saw that they were getting closer. And I wasn't so familiar with the area I was driving in, but I was trying to head for the highway. I got there, and I turned north towards Gävle, and I really sped as fast as I could. I drove like a maniac on the highway, and still they were pursuing me. He was shooting at me and sending me all kinds of crazy messages, asking me questions. Finally, when I passed Arlanda Airport, 40 kilometers north of Stockholm, did he turn back. And I didn't dare to turn around and go back until sometime later. And then the third act, then, when I came home, I connected to the web forum, and I can see that Silver had already posted his story of this event, and other people were congratulating me. So he said that he was settling down for a cozy evening with his girlfriend. They were going to watch a movie, and they had prepared some snacks. He had his telephone on silent mode on top of his TV, and his girlfriend said, "Someone is shooting at you." And he looked at his phone, and he saw that he was already dead at the time. And he said to his girlfriend, "Let's go." And they went into the car, and she drove. She was pursuing me while I was handling the cell phone. Okay, so that's the story. And we have some other stories and anecdotes which are probably even more strange, but this is a good way to understand how the game worked. So this game, Botfighters, is one of the first pervasive games, and it's actually one of the few commercial games this far. It was launched 5 years ago in Sweden, You can't actually play it any longer because it's been taken off the market in Sweden. They're developing Botfighters 2. You can play it in some other places like Moscow and Beijing. And it uses sort of primitive technology, this version anyway. We've interviewed the people who developed the games and also some of the hardest core of the hardcore players, some of which had spent more than $2,000 per year playing the game, meaning that they sent 50 or 100 or more SMS messages each day, 365 days per year. I have 3 students who are writing their master's thesis about pervasive games, and one of them is looking at Botfighters. All of them are working in a European community project called IPERG, Integrated Project on Pervasive Gaming, which is a 3-year, €10 million project spanning 4 countries and 10 institutions, including Nokia and Sony Net Services. And one of the goals of this project is to create good games and good game designs. And in order to do that, we need to know a lot more about how people play and experience these kinds of games, the games that are developed in the project and also other games. So it's in that vein that we've been looking at Botfighters. And I don't have time to tell you how we analyze our data. I'll just throw out a couple of names, and if you recognize 2 or more of them, you perhaps have some idea of how we look at our material. So we're using, as many other people have already said here, we're using Huizinga's Homo Ludens, a study of the play element in human culture and his concept of the magic circle. We're using Irving Goffman's frame analysis, especially as it was used by Gary Allen Fine in his book Shared Fantasy from '83 when he looked at role-playing games. Salen and Zimmerman, Rules of Play, which was published just the other year, and Lawrence Lessig, Code and Other Laws of Cyberspace. And what I leave you with then is some of the issues that are possible to discuss in relation to Botfighters or other games like this that are emerging. So there are lots of issues inside and around these games, legal issues, social, ethical issues. And if you want to get in touch with me afterwards, this is where you find me. I should say that my interest in pervasive games is sort of recent. I have a long-time interest in massively multiplayer games, and I just came back from a 3-week trip to China. And if lots of things are happening there, and if someone else knows anything about online games there, I'd really like to talk to you at this event, because I'd like to compare notes. So thank you very much.